But hold on, is this the time to pop champagne, or we should first leave it to chill a bit? I don't know. Let's unpack this and see how it goes.
I think, first and foremost, Uganda qualified before the game against South Africa at Nambole. And they popped champagne before that game. Obviously, there were many celebratory scenes in camp involving the players, the coaches, the FA president, and fans all over the country, because the country has missed on AFCON for a couple of editions. The last time Uganda was at AFCON was in 2019 when Egypt hosted that competition. Since then, I think there have been 2 tournaments, and Uganda hasn't appeared in those ones. So it was something, I think, worth celebrating. But I think the timing of that celebration, I think, was ill-advised, because we had a game to take care of. We had the big opponent, the seeded team of the group, South Africa, in the country. And I think professionally, it was very, very important for the boys to keep their foot on the gas, to keep their heads in the zone of a game against the seeded team in the tournament, which is in the group, which is South Africa. I think the celebrations went overboard, and it told in the way the national team was torn to shreds by Bafana team, which barely got into second and third gear. I thought they were in control of that game from the onset. They passed us into a stupor. They scored 2 goals, could have scored a couple more goals, and it was Uganda's heaviest performance, Uganda's heaviest competitive defeat since Nambole was opened in 1997. Cranes have been quite formidable at Nambole, but they haven't lost that many games, because it's a measure of how impressive Uganda has been at home, that you can remember the defeats in Nambole off your fingers. I think we were beaten by Togo, we were beaten by South Africa 20 years ago, and now South Africa again. We haven't scored against Bafana in the games at Nambole. So I think, yes, the country had qualified, but that should have been a celebratory atmosphere. It should have been a carnival-like atmosphere at Nambole on the day, having done the business after Congo failed to beat South Sudan. So for a fully packed stadium at Nambole, I think the kind of party that the fans deserved for having stood through thick and thin with the national team was a glorious performance against Bafana.
Yes.
But what happened on the day was that Cranes were very, very poor, exceedingly poor. And there are many moments in that game where I was asking Mark Sally whether Cranes were playing with 9 or 8 men, because for large swathes of the game, Uganda were at 6s and 7s, South Africa were passing the ball at ease, and like I said, they could have scored more goals, and it was easily the worst performance I can recall from the national team at home in a very, very long time.
Yeah, it was really an anticlimax. Look, we went into there to celebrate. Everyone, like you said, we had qualified before that, which is, by the way, I give Mark credit for that, because if you remember, in the previous episodes of Mark to Mark, we had this conversation where I insisted that the Cranes still had work to do, and he said they're already through. It turned out he was right, anyways, but it was an anticlimax of a performance. Look, let's get this straight. The Cranes did a great job. They qualified for 2025 on merit. They got themselves in a position where they could qualify with 2 games to spare, which is quite impressive. So this is not to knock them down. They had done the job and they qualified, and so they came into this game. My disappointment with the performance on the day is because I'm looking at the bigger picture and I'm looking at the future. You cannot fault Cranes for this campaign. Uganda had never qualified with 2 games to spare. Not in the recent past. Never mind what happened in the late 60s and early 70s.
Usually there've been nail-biting finishes. Where you get that odd goal and you know that any equalizer is going to put you on the edge. So this was the first time.
So where you
qualified with 180 minutes to spare.
That was impressive. The anticlimax for me was that, under the circumstances where you already qualified, I would have loved for Paul Putt and his team to be more relaxed, to come into the game and enjoy themselves, because they were under no pressure. And then in enjoying themselves, they then actually display an entertaining game for the fans, to keep the party mood that Mark is talking about. as well as then start to prepare for what's coming. Look, this is against elite. South Africa is against elite African opposition. And that's the kind you meet in the finals. If you look at the list of the teams, as you can see them on the screen, hopefully, the list of the teams that have qualified, we're not going to be meeting any more Congos and South Sudans. At the AFCON, it's the big boys.
Yeah.
And against the big boys, you can't play the way we played against South Africa and survive.
No.
We'll be skinned alive.
Yeah, we couldn't keep the ball. We couldn't pass. There's no reason as to why we couldn't pass the ball between ourselves and in a more relaxed manner and enjoy ourselves. Alan Okello was trying to pass on that message by example to some of his teammates, but everybody else was not. It was in a hurry. It was disappointing for me to see, for example, every time Watenga picked up the ball, that's our goalkeeper, punt it forward looking for Rogers Mato or somebody, rather than actually get us to play. Because every time he hit it forward.
I get Ronald Williams, the South Africa goalkeeper, was doing the opposite. Every time he got the ball, he was starting the ball with his full back, with his central midfielder.
He never ever punted the ball forward because South Africa knew they were under no pressure whatsoever. So they expressed themselves, and eventually the goals came, and they were beautiful when they did because because of the way they were playing. That second goal actually is one that had Mark on his feet. Even if it was against us, you know, just the beauty of it. If you love ball,
that is one of the best goals that has been scored in Nambole.
Yeah.
Ever.
Wow.
So, but I'll tell you, this is it. So my disappointment was in the fact that we couldn't, when we got the ball, we couldn't keep it. We couldn't possess. And then advance forward to create chances. My talk about the Uganda Cranes now, at the moment, is about the attack. Because I'm looking forward to 2025 AFCON, as well as to the 2027, which we are going to host. And also it is in line with what I believe is supposed to be our identity. So many people know about how I've always argued this out. Even at FUFA they know, because I've even written about it. Because I believe we are supposed to be an attacking nation. It's the only way we're going to brand ourselves in a manner that actually is sustainable. To keep the interest of Ugandans as fans, to keep the interest of the players and the kids who are coming through, to keep the interest of the people who put money in us,
but I think
from television and sponsorship.
Mark, I like that you're talking about identity. Now, identity cannot be built at the national team.
I know that.
Identity is built from the grassroots.
What level?
From
No,
the leagues.
I listen. I know all that, and when I was writing that, I did. We are supposed to start
Because
down there.
you're not going to build a house from the tiles.
I know about that. Yes, but look. What I'm saying is, even in the short term, the long-term project is one that has to be from the grassroots, and I've written about that anyway somewhere. I'm on record as having written that. But in the short term, look, even like now, to keep the interest of the people. Look, I saw so many disgruntled fans at Nambole. And it's not because they were looking at the result. It wasn't the scoreboard that was scaring them. It was how we were playing.
I think you're putting it mildly. all the fans were disappointed.
It's how we were playing. So listen, now I'm talking about the attack and how we are supposed, even in the short term, to be able to work on that. Look, we scored 7 goals in this campaign in 6 games. That's a goal a game. But and that is impressive under the circumstances if you look at the way the goals came. But I'm asking for more.
Yeah.
I think I'm asking for more. Because Morocco got 19 goals, Algeria got 16 goals. There were a few other countries in double figures, Burkina Faso, Senegal and all. Well, we scored more goals than Cameroon. We scored more goals than DR Congo. That's impressive.
Okay.
But when I look at it, we had 2 goals from Dennis Omedo, that's our top scorer in the campaign, 2 goals. And then 1 each from his other attack partners, Jude Mugabi and Rogers Mato. And then we had goals from the defenders, Bevis Mugabi and Aziz Kayondo. I'm asking for more goals here. How are these goals going to come? It's the way we build up, the way we play. We have got to be deliberate about our passing, our movement, our pressing up front, our ability to take on and beat men. And it's going to be in synchronicity. Look, when I look at our squad, the attack we had out there, the attack we've had for this campaign, there's been people who have been in and out. I mean, like I talked about the Swedish duo, which had Hope Kabuye and the other guy, Dembe. And I talked about Derek Nswabi, I think at one time was called in as well, didn't play. He wasn't called in this final squad and all. So the final guys who were for these last 2 qualifiers, because we play against the Congo in a dead rubber, the final squad had attackers Mato and Omedo, as well as Semogali, the ones I've talked about, who have actually each scored. And then along with them, you have Stephen Mokwala, and then Hakim Chiwanuka of Villa, and Said Mayanja of KCCA. Now, individually, it's not as if any of those names is going to jump over a team sheet and scare you.
Yeah.
Maybe Omedo is beginning to get known around Africa, maybe perhaps from some of the goals he scored, especially the one in South Africa. And Mato, a little bit. But as a group, as a unit, as long as we're deliberate about what we want to do going forward, these guys can all have the ability to score more than they did in this campaign. But that has got to be deliberate. There were periods in this campaign where I was happy that Put had changed us from the mindset we had under the previous managers.
I think it's tried.
He has. I give the credit as well, but I'm asking for more. I think I have a right to ask for more. I am asking for more. I am saying we produced against South Sudan, for example, home and away. And that's the 6 points that actually took us through. We got goals, the kind of goals we scored in South Africa, the one from Omedo and Mato, are not goals you score every single game. They are one-offs. I'm talking about a 40-yarder, where brilliant connection and a beaten goalkeeper.
I think that result actually did a lot of, should I say, harm in terms of creating an element of complacency in the Cranes.
South Africa, the 2-2?
The 2-2. I mean, it was a good result. Make no mistake, because we fought, scored 2 goals against Bafana, not so many things to it. But we felt going into the game against Nambole that we could match these guys punch for punch. They're still the better team, let's be honest.
Yeah,
they're still the better team.
Yes,
but I think
under the relaxed circumstances of that game, they showed who was superior, because if you have nothing to fight for, then you've got the freedom to play. And they showed the freedom which we couldn't. That was my disappointment.
3 things, Mark, for me, which I think I've got to spell out clearly. One, Cranes have always been a very difficult team to beat, were difficult before Nambole was refurbished. I know that playing tough wasn't exactly very friendly for most visiting teams. Right now, we have a very, very good playing surface in the refurbished stadium. My hunch tells me that it tends to suit teams which have got a better culture, a better passing philosophy, and that's why the Algerians could come and beat us 3-1. It is highly unlikely that Nigeria are going to beat us in the pre-refurbished Nambole. South Africa were very, very comfortable for 90 minutes. They couldn't even have played for 180 minutes, and Cranes are going to be chasing shadows.
So you're saying we have in improving Nambole, we've built a turf which is better for visiting sides than us?
No, yeah.
And I'm saying, we are supposed to make that exactly what suits us.
I've told you what I've told you.
All right, guys, come on.
For me,
make what you want out of
that is supposed to suit us. We are supposed then to tailor our game to making that an advantage, not a disadvantage. Although I understand where you're coming from, I am like, no.
Yeah, because there are many teams. I mean, you're talking about Zambia, you're talking about Egypt, Morocco. They're going to pass that ball till the cows come back home. So, well, secondly, Tadeo Longa. I've had my misgivings about him. I mean, kind of national team. If you're trying to build that kind of culture, well, the technical team know why they called him. I think, well, there are many players who are better than him in that position right now in terms of the kind of identity Cranes should be building. Probably Paul Put would be able to define his technical team. But what exactly was he thinking?
Well, that's
because goals change games. Up until then, South Africa were boasting all the possession, but we know goals change games.
Yes.
At 0-0, it was still anyone's game.
Yes.
And from then on, the moment they got the goal, there's always going to be one winner, because Cranes cannot chase a game.
It was one of those moments. Listen, I've had a lot of conspiracy theories on the streets and all. I don't buy into them. I'm thinking that he made a bad decision. He had 3 options.
He had 5 options.
He could pass back to Watenga or to one of the fullbacks.
Or even put it out for a corner.
Okay, that's an option, one which I don't fancy, but which is why I don't which is why, in line with the culture I want us to create, I don't even think of that as an option.
I've seen Stefan Effenberg do it. Stefan Effenberg, the great Stefan Effenberg.
No, I understand.
Well, I mean...
No, I know, I get you. I know where you're coming from, But, in summary for me, is we have got to make ourselves an attacking team as the Uganda Cranes. It is that aesthetics that is going to keep the interest of some of the fans that the Cranes has won over recently, because not all of them are deep football people like Mark and me, and the rest will appreciate certain other dark arts. The ability like to punt the ball out if you need it. The ability to defend with 2 blocks of 4 and a bus if you like. The abilities to be as resilient as we've been over the years with good goalkeepers and great central defenders and fullbacks. That we've had that. But we have also had great attacks. And we are the country that first gave the world, Africa, Philip Omondi. We are the country that eventually gave them Issa Sekatao and then Majid Mosisi. We are the country that then eventually gave them Andrew Mukasa and Hassan Mubiru.
Mark, there is one point I want to make.
We are the country that is supposed to be
Mark,
going forward and scoring goals.
One thing which most people may not have picked out is that actually the bulk of the South African team is Mamelodi Sundowns. And it was very, very apparent that these guys were playing with a certain chemistry.
Dennis Onyango's people.
Yeah, Dennis Onyango's people. Yeah. So the fluidity, you know, the telepathy, because, and when you're in such a team, it becomes very easy when you get a Patrick Masangwani, the guy who scored a second goal, who is playing for Pirates, to come and finish, because the ball is moving. And everyone is picking out one another. Now, obviously, it's going to be a lot harder for Uganda because you have all these players who are playing in all these far-flung places. So there was a time when I thought maybe KCC were on the brink of creating that kind of hub which is going to support the national team. You know, it didn't quite work out because I think there's been that inclination for players to leave when I think maybe they left one season prematurely. But how easy is it going to be for the national team coach to make the team gel into his image when you don't have the benefit, say, the one which Hugo Bruce has, of most of the players who are home-based. Home-based in South Africa is not home-based in Uganda, obviously. The league is way more professional. But it's a lot easier for him to build that identity.
No, I understand that, Mark. And I get, by the way, I get what Mark is saying. And as I summarize, because I see Paul wants us to summarize.
Yes.
Listen, I agree that it's a process.
There was a time when the Cranes was full of express players, then SCL players.
Yeah. I agree it's a process. But look, if we do not push for that process, we get complacent. These guys have played an entire campaign together, and it's not their first. They actually, a good number of them were even in the previous one. I mean, Bobosi Biarhanga should know exactly what Khalid Aucho is thinking, and these guys play together in central midfield because it's not the first time they're playing together. This was the first campaign they're doing that. And Bevis Mugabe and Khalid Walilao or Capradosi, whoever he plays with, should be able to form that partnership. But the rest of the guys, they've played. Aziz Kayondo and has played with some of these guys before. Dennis Omedo and Semugabi play in the same club.
Kenneth Semakula is new, Ronald Sejiganda is new.
But they play together at Villa. So why would
Semakula
Semakula not be able to pass to...
I know.
They'll play together at Villa, to pass to
chemistry,
Sechiganda and punt the ball forward.
Exactly.
That's what I'm saying. We have no excuses. Look, the guys who play for Morocco, and they chop and change as well, but the guys who play for Morocco were not even born in Morocco. There's several of them who are born in the Netherlands and Belgium, and others in Spain. When they come together, I'm talking 19 goals. 19 goals in the qualifiers. Now, Morocco is, somebody might say, I'm being overambitious by comparing us to them. But those are the standards we want to attain.
And those are our potential opponents.
Yeah, they are potential opponents, and the standards we want to attain.
And they're the host nation.
When we host AFCON in 2027, whatever group we get, Ugandans were expecting for us to get out of it. And for the tournament to actually keep alive in our country. We've got to come out of that group. We've got to play good football and come out of that group.
Yes.
And these are the guys, Travis Mutiava, Alan, these guys are still of the age, Omedo, Mato, Semugabi, these are the guys of the age where they will be actually very mature in 2027 and at their peak. So if we ask them to start that culture of playing well together, of syncing now, is when we can achieve what I'm thinking we should achieve in 2027 when we host this tournament.
The challenge,
and for it to be memorable and historic.
Yes.
That's in a nutshell.
In summary, I think what is very, very apparent is that the technical team and the federation must be deliberate about choosing on whether they're going to build the identity or get the results. Because the argument has always been that we need these results for political reasons. But then, you can't have your cake and eat it.
Look, we have a dead rub against Congo. Let's go out there and express ourselves better than we did against South Africa. Let's play with a little more freedom, enjoy ourselves, knowing that even if we conceded 10 goals, nobody is taking our AFCON berth away.
All right.
That's what I'm asking for.
Mark, you know the age-old argument, which they've been saying, FIFA are getting so much money and the team are not getting results, and yet they're getting the bulk of the sports budget, so they must perform. When they don't perform,
They have performed, so now,
yeah.
All right,
now,
gentlemen.
now let them
Gentlemen.
relax.
Let them relax.
Now,